Months. I invite you to come on down. 79-cent boneless wing night here at Frickers, and you can watch Monday Night Football with the Bengals against the Jaguars. I was going to tell the joke that Bengals fans were charged double, but Steelers fans were charged triple. No, they're honest here. They love you. They just want to see you have a good time here and watch the games. Obviously, you can tell I'm a Browns fan, but long suffering. All right, we're with Juan Vela, the head girls basketball coach at Fremont Ross. Give you the lineup tonight. 7:15, we'll have Tony Egbert, Gibsonburg boys. Then 7:30, Kyle Clare, who is the Woodmore girls head coach. And at 7:45, John Cahill, who already spotted in here earlier, and he's the Ross boys head coach and does the games with me when we have the football season. So Coach Vela is with us, and let's talk about the girls a little bit. I mean, there's different faces this year. Obviously, you have some returners. Destiny Robinson, everybody spotlights on her, but off to a 1-2 start. I saw your game against Margaretta, and obviously we covered the game the other night against Anthony Wayne, and that's a good team that you played there, and they won by 40. So take us into it. You're 1-2 on the season. What do you like about what the girls have been doing? But obviously there's some things to improve on. So what do you want to improve on?
Well, I mean, beginning of the season, I mean, you go through preseason and you try to correct things, try to get back, in a rhythm. When we play, like a Margaretta, that community loves basketball. We get the win at Northview, and then Anthony Wayne comes to our house and puts it to us. And things didn't go as planned. But you just continue to work on it, try to figure things out. And I mean, we did some good things, but then we also didn't do some good things. We got new players and other roles. So like it takes time. And some years it happens faster, some years it doesn't. So I mean, obviously we have Destiny, we have Karma. They're going to take majority of the shots.
Sure.
Lindy's is a really good outside shooter. She just had a hell of a volleyball year, so it's going to take time for her. And how much time, I don't know. I mean, that's the secret of it all, is how fast can we get into it, and can we play our best basketball towards the end of the year.
Lindy Wolf was the Division I Player of the Year.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
Yeah.
To talk about that and her accomplishments, and she's verbally committed to University of Akron from what I saw. So what does that mean for her to be able to try to carry off that success that she had in volleyball to basketball?
Well, I think there's a change of mentality there. I mean, she goes through the whole volleyball season in rhythm, doing well. I mean, she has her wins herself, and then she switches to basketball, which she's just a natural athlete. Basketball is her second sport, but it also takes time in basketball. There's a lot of things going on: passing, dribbling, running the plays, and every good athlete will get there. She's a really good athlete, so I'm very confident that the first two games she shot the ball very well. I mean, she got the bottom of the net almost every shot she shot. So, Anthony Wayne's a very good team. They defended us very well. So a lot of things to improve on, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Talking with the head coach Juan Vela of the Ross girls to get ready for Napoleon tomorrow night, a road game, and of course we have been covering them. We'll cover them throughout the year at various stages of the season. And Coach, Destiny Robinson, on her birthday, August 13th, she was able to verbally commit to go to the University of Toledo. How important is that for her, and with all her accomplishments, to be able to get the recruiting process out of the way so she can focus on the court for her senior year?
Well, I think throughout her high school career, I mean, she just loved basketball. She wanted to play at the next level, and for her, beginning of the summer, she started playing a lot of AAU, traveling outside of the state, and I think she made some noise. And then last year during our season against Central Catholic and Anthony Wayne, I started getting calls from her. So the process was slow, but I think when it started happening, she was getting overwhelmed a little bit. And towards the end of the summer, I think she was excited that UT reached out on a full ride. And Coach Cullup is awesome. Everybody I talk to just loves that coach, and I'm glad that Destiny's going there. It's a good family. It's a good fit for her. She has family in Toledo, so that means a lot to her, and for her to get her education there. I mean, that's probably the most important thing for her in her life. And then basketball obviously comes second, and for her to be able to play basketball too with a good organization like that, good team. I think she's very, very happy.
When you say overwhelmed, What do you mean by that during the recruiting process?
Well, I mean, she was getting a lot of calls. I was getting calls, and it's just questions and, what's her schedule like, and mistakes were magnified. As far as now, when we have Janiyah graduated last year, we get new role players. All of a sudden, each mistake is magnified because of what we did in the past, or who we're playing now. And I told the coaches we got to be patient with our role players. They gotta learn. They gotta pick up some things, and hopefully they can grow by the end of the season. But we got to be patient with them. We were patient with Janiyah when she was a freshman, and she grew to be a tremendous player. And we got to do the same for the role players.
What do you see as the ceiling for Lindy Wolf? She had 16 in the opener, then followed up with 11 against Northview. And I remember that barrage of threes she had in the opener, especially in the first half against Margaretta. But she was out scoreless against Anthony Wayne team. You talked about how good their defense is.
Yep.
So how do you keep her high, or at least on an even keel when things may not be going well for her?
Yeah, I mean, her ceiling is whatever ceiling she puts on, whatever limits she puts on herself. As far as ability, I mean, the girl's long. She's athletic. She has instincts. She just has to. She has to show it. There's been times in practice she takes it to the hoop. She's tough to guard. But I mean, her limit is what she puts on herself, and I think she can do a lot more than what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. Couple last questions for head coach Juan Vela. Ross girls basketball team 1-2 on the season, but do have a league win under their belt after beating Northview, and then they go up against Napoleon coming up on Tuesday night on the road. And you start out with 2 road games in a row. New league. You don't have Central Catholic anymore. I know that was really good because you look at Central Catholic and they were the one that you tried to knock off the mountaintop, and that was so important. So in coming into the new league, obviously some different competition. How do you view it shaking out for you? You're in the Cardinal, you're the smaller schools.
Yep.
You're the biggest of the smaller schools.
Yep.
How is that going to help you out in battling some of these teams? Who's going to be your main competition for a division title?
Well, I think the new league, the way it's set up with the Buckeye and the Cardinal division, I think that's kind of nice as far as size of school and competition. But it's kind of weird because in the O League, I mean, I knew what Central was going to do. I knew what their players were going to have. I knew what Coach Galloway was going to do. I was comfortable with all those coaches. Even when they had a new coach, I kind of knew what was going on. With the new league, I haven't played Southview before. I haven't been in that gym yet. Napoleon, I think we played last year, obviously, but I don't know too much about them besides what I do in scouting. So, and then Northview, that was the first time that I played at that place besides a scrimmage. So, like, there's just a lot of things that I'm learning this year. Kind of get accustomed to how they do things, how they run their offense, what kind of defense, what coaches do in certain situations. So it's a learning curve, but I'm sure they have the same thing with me.
Last question, though. You do have some prior experience with a team like Northview. You've faced them in districts
Yes.
the last
2
years.
Yep.
And you have that type of comfort. What did the players think about playing somebody different?
Honestly, I've never really talked to them about it. They're just up to go play with anybody. This summer and even last summer we went to Columbus and played in some Berlin Highland, playing Magnificat. So some different teams that we've played that we haven't played in the past. So I just think they're excited to play and compete.
One last question, Coach Vela, and you talked about the patience right now, and new roles, some of them developing and everything. I'm sure you're going to get a good gauge for the team. Obviously, it's unlike college, where you have a little bit of time to work into that. So, with that, as a coach, how do you have to remind yourself to be patient?
I have to learn is when I'm getting frustrated is when I got to take a step back. It's kind of like at home with my kids, as I'm getting frustrated, I'm like, I need to take a step back. Maybe I had a long day. I got to see the bigger picture. And usually when that does happen, I get more out of them in the long run. They don't get frustrated. I don't get frustrated, and we kind of work together. But, I mean, that's an important part. And, yeah, I mean, we also got to push, and I'll tell them when I'm frustrated. But for the most part, I'm patient, and as long as they're working, their feet are moving, they're talking, that's all I could ask for.
One last follow-up, because, of course, I'm adding to this now. But I can say that. One last follow-up. Okay. What do you feel like this team will do defensively as the season continues?
I don't know. We're still trying to find that. We need to create some pressure with our athletes that we have, but we also need to take care of our interior defense, and that's where Janiyah did a lot of that stuff. A guard maybe got beat, and Janiyah was there to maybe block a shot or misguide the shot, and we get the rebound. So we're still trying to find roles defensively, trying to create pressure. We got, like I said, we got Destiny. She's a good athlete, but that's just one. Other girls need to step up and make things happen.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck throughout the season.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Coach Juan Vela joining us. And a week from Tuesday, they go up against Perrysburg. So tough schedule to begin the season for the Ross Lady Giants. We come back, we will have Tony Egbert, Gibsonburg boys head coach. And a reminder, it's 79-cent boneless wing night here at Frickers, home of the Coaches Show. We're doing it every Monday night during the basketball season. Football Frickers for the Coaches Show on Eagle 99. All right. So exciting for you. And I know that there were some struggles last year. We won't talk a lot about that, but we will talk about the growth and development of your program. Tough loss on Saturday in the opener, losing to Northwood 74-70. So tell us a little bit about details in that game and what made the difference.
Yeah, you brought up last year. We have a lot of guys back from last year. A lot of our kids last year, it was their first taste of varsity basketball. So it was really, it was my first taste too. So it was kind of a learning experience for both me and the players. And Northwood came to our place last year, and they handled us pretty well. And they bring everybody back. They're a talented team. They're used to going against the Ottawa Hills, Emmanuel Christian, Toledo Christian. They're battle tested. And our kids went there, and we were up 5 going into the fourth quarter. And down the stretch, their kids just made some plays and made a few more plays than we did. And they earned it. But I think our kids. I think it showed how much we've grown up over the summer and over the preseason. So hopefully it's a glimpse of things to come.
So in the early part of the year, what has been the biggest area where your team has experienced that growth?
I think just confidence, trusting each other. I think we've got a pretty balanced team. We've got 3 seniors that start for us, Jake Hall, Sam McEwen, and Zach Magoo, who started last year for us. They can really score it in a variety of ways. Then we've got Aiden Morant and Reese Walby playing guard for us. Aiden's a sophomore. Reese is a freshman. Camden Mooney's playing a lot of different positions for us. He's a versatile guy. He's a junior for us. And then we've got Jacob Henderson, who's a senior, Nick Lucas, who's a senior, Hunter Wasserman's a freshman. I think we've got a lot of different lineups that we can throw out there, and I don't think we really have one guy that you can kind of key on night in and night out. I think we've got 6 or 7 guys that could have a night where they score 15, and I think that kind of shows the growth that they've had over the summer and, again, over the preseason.
Well, is that good, Coach, to have players that no one can key on because you don't know who's going to be there that night, or does that make it a little difficult for internally to say, okay, who's going to step up tonight? Who are we going to have?
Yep, I think it's a great thing. I think it makes teams. I feel like, again, our thing is we're not bringing up last year. We don't want to talk about it a lot, but I think we kind of worried about them, our opponents, rather than making our opponents worry about us.
Yeah.
And I think now with this balance, I'm confident that 3 or 4 of those guys are going to show up every night. I realize actually Saturday night we had 5 guys in double figures. I realize it's not going to be like that every night, but I'm very confident in our kids that they're going to show up ready to go every single night. So.
Talking with Gibsonburg boys head coach Tony Egbert here on the Coaches Show from Frickers in Fremont, located between Highways 20 and the Turnpike here in Fremont. So let's talk about Jake Hall. Hall last year, 10.3 points per game, and then also did a nice job at rebounding at 6.4. So what is it about him that it makes that has a characteristics of a leader?
Yeah, Jake's he's a very even-keeled kid. He never gets too high, never gets too low. If something's going bad, he's always going to be Jake, which is great. You can always count on him being there. He's a versatile player for us. He can handle it. He's 6'5", 6'6". He can shoot it outside. He can score it inside. If he needs to distribute, he can do that. I think he had 6 assists for us on Saturday night. So, again, he kind of provides us with that mismatch. And, if we need a bucket, he's a guy that we can go to, again, in a variety of different ways to get us a bucket, hopefully. So
now some of these guys I know from football, and one of them that he's a speedster, Aiden Morant. So what is it about his game that you've seen taken another step?
Yeah, he really embraces the role of being our energy guy and being our defensive stopper. Whoever the other team's stud is, Aiden thinks he can shut him down. It doesn't matter if it's a point guard. Aiden probably thinks he can guard a 6'10" guy, and honestly, we might trust him to do that sometimes if it ever comes down to it. He's just got that mentality where.
Honestly, Coach, are there any 6'10" players you've seen?
There's not. There's not.
Well, that's reassuring.
Probably good for us. But no, he's got that mentality where he doesn't care who he's guarding. He's going to do whatever it takes to shut that guy down. And I think that kind of bleeds throughout the team. He's only a sophomore, but we kind of feed off the energy that he brings for us.
How about Zach Magoo?
Zach kind of the same thing as Jake. Our senior group, they're a competitive group, but they're not the most vocal, that's not a problem at all. They're them, which is perfect. That's what we need them to be. Zach, again, he can score it in a variety of ways. He can shoot it really well. When Zach's hot, he's one of the best shooters around, and he can finish inside. I know Saturday night we got down late, and he kind of went on a personal, I think it was a 7-0 run to bring us back and tie it back up late in the game, and he's just got that spurt ability. I think that's Clark Kellogg always says spurt ability on the college basketball broadcasts, and Zach has that ability to score in bunches quick.
We like it when you bring up Clark Kellogg. He's a heck of a nice guy and an Ohio State Buckeye. So we like that.
Exactly.
Talk with Tony Egbert, the head boys basketball coach at Gibsonburg. Hopewell Loudon's their opponent tomorrow night, and you get to have your first home game. Mm-hmm. I noticed in some of the stats from last year, 54% for the free throw line. Mm-hmm. You were losing a 7% differential from your opponent. So what is it that you need to do to get better at free throws this year?
Actually, so in practice we've started there's always time built in every practice schedule, no matter what, if it's a defensive day, offensive day, whatever. We build in time to work on free throws. We've actually started trying to make it more competitive. So we actually will take an average over a couple days. Each kid has to shoot at least 20, and they give us their number out of 20. Then me and my coaches will take an average, and we place them on a bracket. And then each month we're doing a bracket challenge to see who can make the most free throws. And actually for the month of December, they're in teams of 3. And we just broke up their teams of 3 tonight, so they don't know who's on their team yet. But hopefully getting that competitive aspect into things will
kind of like your own NFL draft.
a little bit, yeah. It was fun. We have all these numbers. We probably didn't do the math right. I don't know, but we're crunching all these numbers to try and make sure the teams were even, and I guess we'll find out Wednesday at practice if the teams are even or not.
Well, yeah, I guess you'll find that out very, very quickly.
Yeah, yep.
When you look at it, you in your first year last year, obviously, you had some experience in the program still previously, but how was it different for you to be the head coach last year as opposed to an assistant?
It's just there's all the behind-the-scenes stuff being a head coach that
like talking to us.
That's like talking. No, yeah, exactly, like talking to you guys. No, like just taking care of stuff with the youth program, all the administrative stuff that kind of goes unseen. Like growing up, I always thought it was like, oh, it'd be great. You get to go, you go to practice for 2 hours, you get to watch film, and you get to go coach games. But there's just so much more to it that it was a lot to figure out. But luckily, I have a great coaching staff. Having Coach Liskey still at the school there, he helped me out a lot with a lot of stuff.
Is there a piece of advice he gave you?
Just be myself. I mean, we're two different people, and I know that's the typical advice that people always get, but I mean it's great advice.
So describe Coach Egbert to me. If you had to describe yourself, what would you say?
Man, that's tough. I think I'm somebody who can get the best out of kids in different ways. I think I'm very relatable, approachable. If a kid has an issue, I'm 100% confident talking to that kid, saying, here's what we need to work on, here's what you're good at, here's what you're not so good at, like finding those things that kids need to work on. I think I'm pretty flexible. I know throughout the summer, if a kid texted like, "Hey, coach, are you around? If I get can I get some shots up?"
Sure,
I'm there. I think I'm there for the kids first, and I think that's the kind of coach I meant.
See, that would be not having been a coach. I would imagine being a psychologist and kind of learning the mental aspect for because each kid is motivated by different things.
Oh, yeah.
So how difficult does that become for you now that you're the head coach to figure that out sometimes with some of them until you get to know them?
Yeah. Luckily, our group, obviously they're all very different, but our group of kids is pretty similar. They're a close group of kids, so kind of they're motivated by pretty similar things. But yeah, it is a challenge because you have your kids that are very confident in their abilities, and maybe you need to like tone them down a little bit or slow them down every now and then. And then there's some kids that have a lot of ability, but they just don't have that confidence yet. And it's just a matter of getting them reps in practice and showing them like, hey, or finding spots on film where they do something well, and it's like, hey, this is in you all the time. This is what's expected of you. This is what you're capable of.
Sure.
And it's different from kid to kid, but I think my staff's pretty good at recognizing those things too, and pulling it out of them. So.
Last question, Coach Tony Egbert joining us from Gibsonburg. Boys team has Hopewell Loudon tomorrow night, so let's size up the matchup against Hopewell Loudon.
Yeah, Hopewell's a great team. Coach Jury's got a good program going over there. They've got everybody back from a district final team last year. They've got the returning player of the year, Evan Crease. They've got Donovan Elmore down low, is a big 6'7", 6'8" kid who can obviously alternate the game defensively, and their guards really get after it defensively. They've got Yarborough, Martinez, Barrier. They're in your face defensively, and again, it's an experienced group that I think our kids are up to the challenge. Though Hopewell's, you got Hopewell, Old Fort, Calvert are always going to be kind of what you're striving to be as a program. They've been pretty consistently at the top these last few years here, and we're gonna find out where we stand, and I think our kids are gonna bring it and show up. It's gonna be good. It's always good, that first home game. It's different energy. It's an exciting feeling. So.
Certainly, so they can feed off that crowd. Well, we really do appreciate you joining us here at the Coach's Show from Frickers tonight, and we wish you best of luck, Coach Egbert.
All right, thanks for having me.
Well, we talked Gibsonburg boys basketball, and now we'll go back to the girls. We'll have coming up next Kyle Clare, the 16th year head coach of the Woodmore Lady Wildcats. Here from Frickers, 79 cent boneless wings tonight and Monday Night Football, all to boot right here at Frickers, your destination for everything related to sports. More coming up after this. I'm Tim Boulware, and it's the Frickers Coaches Show from Frickers here on this Monday night, Eagle 99. A girls basketball coach at Woodmore, 16 years it says here. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah. You ever reminisce every now and then about your beginnings there and getting started?
Definitely. So I started my coaching career in 2001 at Fremont St. Joe coaching boys. So kind of coming back here in this area, and then I graduated from Woodmore. Kind of got my foot in the door there for a couple of years as the JV girls coach, and then was fortunate to take the opportunity to coach varsity there. So it's been a good fit for me.
Well, let's just say it's been a wild ride for you at the beginning of the year. we have a lot to cover here.
Okay,
and
all right,
just
I'm
a
ready.
short amount of time. Lost to Port Clinton the opener, 51-44, and then lost by 1 to Genoa, 46-45. Had an overtime win that we covered right here on Eagle 99 against Lakota last week, and then you played on Saturday and won that game. So won back-to-back in beating New Regal 52-39. So size up your first 4 games, a tough loss, a good win in overtime, and everything in between. But is this what you mean? Team last year 21, so is this what you expected so far?
Yeah, I mean, it was, we thought we could, one of those things where we had a busy opening week where we played, 3 games, back to back to back, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So it was kind of a gauntlet for us. But, we thought we could, 4-0, 0-4, depending on how we played. We have a young group, mixed with some experience. So we were in both those games, those first 2 games. I thought a lot of self-inflicted things that if we kind of cut in half, we'd have been on the other end of those losses. But great response against a real tough Lakota team in overtime. We've had some battles with them the last few years. So very proud of the group the last couple games, get back on track, and 2-0 in the league, we'll take it.
Yep. All right, well, we talk a little bit about the experience. So let's get some of the experienced players and what you've seen from them, and then we'll talk about a little bit of the youth and how that blends into what you hope to do this year.
Okay. We had 2 starters coming back from last year's 22-3 team, Kara Schneider and Cameron Quizno. We expect some leadership from them and production, and Kara's been great. I think Cam's starting to find her stride a little bit. Both tough players, defensive-minded, aggressive players, and we kind of follow their lead. And Abby Sandrock was another senior that we had coming back that had experience last year with that group, so she gets quality minutes and brings some rebounding and toughness there. And Maddie Hammer is our other senior, just been a huge spark plug off the bench. So the experience that we had, coming back from last year is where I thought it would be. I think, they're still finding their rhythm. I think that'll be beneficial to us going forward. And, all these tight games, you got to have some of that coming back.
Yeah, and when you get into a tight game, what is it about? Take us into the leadership. Who is the one you want the ball in the hands at the end of the game?
So I mean, really, we run a 7-man rotation right now, and really, it's everybody. Everybody has to be a part of that, because if everybody has their own items that they bring to the table as far as rebounding, scoring, defense, ball handling. So. If that doesn't all fit together in the right way and we all get on the same page, that win against Lakota doesn't happen. We were a man down. Kara didn't play against New Regal, so that's a testament to kind of the group kind of galvanizing together and gelling a little bit and pulling out one for a teammate that was down. That usually is a key cog in what we do.
Let's talk about the young players. We talked to Kyle Clare, the head coach at Woodmore, the girls basketball team, and they get ready on Thursday night for Old Fort. That is coming up, and then you have at SJCC coming up on Saturday. So let's talk about some of those young players and how they're getting into the mix now that add some of that depth to your rotation.
Yeah, so we brought up some freshmen last year, and Camille Strong, comes to mind a little bit. She kind of sat behind Macy Bowder, one of our Player of the Year in the NBC last year, and there's a learning curve there, and I know she took a lot in, so she stepped up and come in as a ball handler for us. We have Kelsey Kaler. I played a little bit JV last year. Didn't see much varsity time, but she stepped in and has been a huge spark for us. She had 23 the other night, or the other day against New Regal. Ari Florio, another one that's tough for us. So we got a whole group there that's blended well. I think the older kids have done a good job of not being overwhelming, but at the same time kind of pushing them along. And it's a good group, and they get along really well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about chemistry, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to phrase that. But does it always work out that way? The chemistry works so well with the team so early on in the year, or is it just characteristics of the girls in the team that you have?
You know, I think I give credit to the girls on that. You know, they're a close bunch. Locker room is great. You know, you see them hanging out and eating together at lunch and that type of thing. And we find something that we're all in control of on the court, and that's the defensive side of the ball. I've always been, you know, a defensive first coach, and we've done some things this year that with our 1-3-1 and, you know, a little bit of mix of man that they've taken to really well early, and that's been a strength of ours. So I think that common goal, and they all understand that they're all a big part of that. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Final couple of questions for Kyle Clare, head basketball coach at Woodmore for the girls. And, of course, they have Old Fort hosting them Thursday, then at SJCC on Saturday. And, you know, we talk about the early part of the season. We also talk about some of the other things. But, of course, new league, you know, you go from NBC over to the SBC. So how has that transition been for you?
You know, I still, even in the fall, like I've caught myself sometimes, like, you know, hey, where are we at in the NBC? And I get told, like, oh, we're not in that league anymore. We're in the SBC. So it's definitely been an adjustment.
As long as you don't show up.
Right. We
That's
definitely
okay.
didn't show up. I got the schedule down pat. But, you know, we've seen these teams, you know, we've played a lot of non-league, you know, tournament games with them. So there's some familiarity there. I know some of the coaches, some great coaches in the league, you know, that I talk to regularly. It's different. I grew up playing in the SLL and the NBC and those schools, so, you know, coaching for 20 years, all of a sudden changing to a different league is, you know, it's definitely been a little bittersweet, but I think it'll be great for us. You know, the fans are still coming out supporting us, and you know, and it's all the schools there are great basketball-rich tradition schools, so it'll be fun.
Does it get hard, though, because, I mean, you're seeing something different. Obviously, they feel the same way about you. They have less, you know, less of a difference there, I mean, with the new school. But does it really, when it comes down to it, different players, but the rivalries. You know, like we look at college football and all these teams jumping and everything. I'm like, oh, all those great rivalries are gone.
Yeah.
How do you establish rivalries with some of these other teams that you're now lumped in with?
Well, I think you know, I'll take Lakota for example. I just, you know, talked to Aaron on Thursday when they came over to play, and you know, the last we had I think a 4-point game with them in the regular season last year at our place. The tournament game at Otsego, a district semi, was a packed house, you know, a tight game. This year was no different, just two teams battling. So I think that type of basketball creates the rivalries, and people remember, well, I remember how that game went the last time. I can't wait to go see this one. So I think that generates the rivalries a little bit. You know, we still have, I kept some non-league games with, you know, Genoa and Eastwood and Lake, which were some teams that we played in the NBC. So we're not getting away from that. I like to keep those there just for, you know, sentimental value. But I think the rivalries generate themselves with the battles and just two teams, you know, going at it and giving everything they got.
You talked about defense and some of the changes that you're making, or at least some tweaks that you're making. Let's talk about some of the other intangibles like rebounding, some of the other things, and passing that could make a difference for your season.
Oh, that's big for us because we've averaged probably about 20 plus turnovers these last 4 games, and you know, for us that's not acceptable. But there's some expectation there with a young team, and we've kind of charted it where, you know, about 60-70% of those have been bad passes. You know, panicking. You know, maybe playing a little bit too fast and getting in a hurry. Rebounding out of a zone is never easy, so understanding that we got to find bodies and that type of thing and kind of clean up those intangibles, and you know, we're gonna be a tough team.
So what does Woodmore want to do with tempo?
Well, with the group that we have, so we talked about on Saturday actually that we play defense, you know, with our heads cut off. We go crazy. It's super aggressive. You know, we fly around well. We're long. Offensively, we've talked about, hey, you can't play offense like you play defense necessarily. You got to slow it down. You got to have some patience, and we got to value possession. So, you know, we get out and run when we can, but the difference between this year and last year is we're more cautious about things, making sure we're you know, on the plus side of possessions and getting some value out of those.
All right, and let's get a scouting report for this week. So you have Old Fort, you're hosting them on Thursday, and then at SJCC on Saturday. So let's look ahead to those two matchups.
Yeah, I mean, Old Fort, a tough team. Some great shooters from the perimeter, from what I've seen. St. Joe, we played them last year in the tournament and a regular season game. Hard-nosed, tough group of girls that are very physical with us. So we got a work cut out for us. We got one of them at home, and then we get to go to St. Joe, where I've coached before. I know that's a tough environment to play because everybody's on top of you, and it can get loud in there. So
it's like Hoosiers Gymnasium.
It is. I tell you what, you like to be on the home side there sometimes, but no, we'll be ready, and I think the girls got a great mindset, and we'll try to get 2 more wins here in the league.
All right. Well, Woodmore girls basketball coach Kyle Clare, your 16th season. We hope it's a successful one, Coach.
Well,
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back, we will talk Ross boys basketball with John Cahill, the head basketball coach at Fremont Ross and the Little Giants. We're Frickers for the Coaches Show here every Monday night during the basketball season. So come on down for some great boneless wings tonight. The and then also Monday Night Football with the Bengals against the Jaguars tonight, the premier event. More coming up next as we roll along here on Eagle 99. Get Frickers on this Monday night, and we're joined by Coach John Cahill as we talk Ross boys basketball. They go up, they've already had one game in the book, 62-38 with a win against Woodward on Saturday, and that was an away game. They also have an away game against Northview on Thursday, and then what is it with your schedule? You got 3 road games all starting off, Tiffin Columbian on Saturday, so tough schedule, Coach, to begin things out. So I guess we'll talk about the 3 away games before things start turning around your way.
Yeah, it's an interesting start. Woodward, presents issues. They had won their opener the night before, so they're very athletic, up into you, pressure. Northview traditionally a really good program, lots of size. Have to go up there, tough place to play. And then Tiffin, they've got that group of seniors. They lose Logan Beeston, but they've just got guys who have been very, very successful in football, basketball, you name it. So it's a tough start, but, we kind of like it.
Yeah, let's talk about your team and, of course, changing leagues in the NLL. So have you gotten used to the geography? We talked to every coach tonight. It was like, do you know where to go? Don't go to the wrong place.
It is a little bit of a challenge, you know. You're playing people that you just haven't played, you know, and so it's different scouting, different a way they do things. Like they have a place on Huddle where everybody shares their film, so it makes it a lot simpler. It's a lot more like the SBC was, where it's a league. You know, the track was kind of a marriage of convenience where people needed to be together, and there really was no sense of family or league or, it was just you just played and they were all recruiting against each other for the most part, where this has a real sense of community, and it's been fun to be a part of. I think it's going to be some real good challenges, big and little division this year, but we're excited to be a part of it, and it feels a lot more like home to me.
Well, so let's talk about your new home and who you bring with you to the party. And you got Tykel Patterson and Makai Lee. They're both coming back. But after that, not a lot of experience for your squad. So what are you going to rely upon with Lee and Patterson to help you out with trying to blend these guys in?
Well, it's, even with TK and Makai, they're in much different roles than they were last year. So, we've talked a lot about, role definition and where guys fit. And we have what I think is a really deep group. Our youth program is really starting to pay off. And, in fact, yesterday, and this is youth basketball, but our 4th, 5th, 6th grade teams won every game this weekend, 6-0. Our middle school teams both won tonight, 7th and 8th grade over Perrysburg. So, it's paying dividends. You'll see, Eddie Baptiste is coaching JVs, John Minnick with the freshmen. We've got some real good young talent coming. But in terms of our group, TK is leading well. We've got 4 seniors. 3 of them are all pretty much new to varsity basketball. In fact, Dom Brown hasn't played basketball since he's a freshman. So, this group has been very receptive. And the thing I think people will like, they're a tough group and they're an unselfish group. And I think, our city is kind of, at least since I've been here, been based on that. Blue-collar people show up and work hard. And I think this team will represent the values of this community since I've been a young man growing up here.
Well, as we talk with Coach John Cahill, Ross boys basketball off to a 1-0 start as they get ready for Sylvania Northview on Thursday night. Dom Brown's on the list, so I'm looking on this on the roster, and we know how highly successful he was during the football season. So how does he bring that mentality to basketball?
He's a great leader. We had talked a little bit last year. He's a great kid. You and I talk about him during football season a lot. And so, Braden Rapp is on a team, a senior. Will Kaiser, who's actually Dom's cousin. And Dom kind of originally was going to be the manager. In fact, he still picks up the basketballs quite often. He's a servant of sorts. But he was practicing, and he plays really hard. And he played a couple of minutes the other day against Woodward. I don't think anybody's going to play any harder than Dom. I think if there's a loose ball and he's out there, I like our chances of getting it. He's not a great shooter, but he doesn't try to shoot. He just stays in his box and does his thing. So we're glad to have him. He brings a real level of competitiveness every day to practice, and he's just a class kid.
How difficult does it become for these guys? And I know they haven't had a lot of success, for a team trying to build that up, but how difficult does it become for these guys to know their role, to know that there's certain things I can and can't do, and if I do the things I can't do, then we're not going to have success. But if I can blend in with what I can do and know what this other guy, my other teammate, can do, and how does that make it for a more successful team?
It's a really good question. I think we have a group of guys right now that they want to win. It's been we for a lot of them, they haven't won really at anything, and so we've got an opportunity this year to change some opinions. We were voted, depending on how you read it, 5th or 6th in the conference. There's like 6 teams. So, the expectations. And I told the boys, there's no offense to that. Like, if you look on paper, it's where we belong. So it's our job to change that. And, they had a really good spring. They lift really hard. We've got guys, Makai Lee put 7 inches on his vertical leap in about a 6-week span.
How do you do that?
We've got our secrets. We have a pretty good training program, and I'm a big believer in, and it works. It's good stuff. And so we just we lift hard, we jump hard, we practice hard, and
your family's all
I got to feed
applauding
Jake.
you on.
They took down Perrysburg tonight, so they're in a good mood. But they work really hard, and I think their expectations are much different than maybe what people think. We don't spend a lot of time good, better, and different on what people think. So we work hard and are just trying to get better.
All right, and final few questions for Coach John Cahill as his team gets ready for another road game, Northview, coming up on Thursday. That transition from basketball or from football to basketball season, some of these guys are involved in other fall sports. So does that where is that transition come? How long does it take for them to get used to what it's like for a basketball season then?
No matter what you're in, it's different, and it's not one's better than the other. They're just different, like so. Basketball shape it's a lot different than football shape. It's a lot different than tennis shape, baseball. I mean, it's just different. So we hit the ground running. We don't have a ton of football players actually on this group. A lot of these guys are with me all fall, so those guys came in the season in pretty good shape. Like we worked pretty hard, but football guys have hit the ground and gotten after it, and really like we. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm coaching this team a lot like I did back in the day. Like if you played for me in Clyde back in the early 2000s, late 90s, like we go hard every day. Like there's not a lot of wasted time. It's very competitive, very up and down. So we condition some. We run side 17s and 48s and 46s and 44s. Like they're and I mean we have a high bar. Like we're I'm not saying anything other than I really like this group. Like they listen, they compete hard. We've had our share of thunderbolts and problems, but they've overcome them and. I have a strong belief that if they keep doing what they're doing, they'll be, like I said, a team that I think Fremont will be proud of.
All right, a couple of things, Coach. It's listed some of your strengths will be in the perimeter. Obviously, shooting is supposed to be a real positive, but the talk is inside and rebounding is going to be something that you're going to struggle with. Do you agree with that assessment? Where are we at right now with what you're seeing as positives and negatives for this team?
Well, the one consistent we have is that we're incredibly inconsistent. So we shot 3 of, I think, 19 from 3 the other night. We out-rebounded by 18. And so those are probably my words on that. I felt like guard play coming in was, going to be a strength, and I think it will be, but we just didn't shoot it particularly well in the opener.
That came from the Toledo Blade.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Obviously,
yeah,
if they got it from you,
100%.
then you agree with yourself.
Yeah, yeah. But like I said, next game we'll see. It's just one of those things that we have 2 guys of pretty good size, Michael Stover and Justin Harrelson. Beyond that, we don't have a ton of size, but again, I think our guys will box out hard. They'll compete hard on the glass, and I think it's something that it's going to be a challenge, especially against some teams that have a lot more size than we do. But these guys just right now they're very coachable. They listen to what we're trying to do. They work really hard. With the number of guys that we had leave, Aiden Carter's playing great at Walsh, and we have a number of guys, Chewy and Anthony, and all those guys. Carter played a lot of basketball and had great careers across the board. This group's got their own stamp to put on, and again, expectations on paper are very, very low, but our expectations are a little different, and I think we've got a lot to prove, and we're out to try to do that.
Last question for you: the support of the parents. How important has that been for you to be able to make this a positive year?
Well, like right now, our parents are fantastic. Of course, we're 1-0. But like I've got, parent-coach relationship's always a tough one. It just is. I've been coaching for a long time. I'm very committed to protecting our culture, and my wife's done a great job of that in the fall. But I really, I'm not here to make friends. I got 5,000 Facebook friends. I don't know most of them. So I'm really just, my concern is the boys and how we treat each other and what happens in our locker room and, how we feel about one another. And I'm just really, I think Coach Vela is in the same boat. Like I want our kids to play. I want our parents to cheer. I don't need our parents coaching in the stands. Like, they can apply for a job if they want to, but not on my staff right now. And, we're just going to try our best to play really hard. And, our parents that I know I really, really like. So I get it. I'm a parent too. You go there and it's always a goofy dynamic, but our parents so far have been great.
Yeah, and you can see it from both perspectives, which maybe, and I guess that when people are critical of coaches are like, well, first of all, let them coach. But on the other hand, if you're a parent and a coach, then you see how the pendulum can swing the other way. So that's very, very important. Well, we wish you the best of luck this season, Coach. Thanks very much, and good luck, and good luck with your son's games as well.
Oh, I got my son
and
my daughter.
Games.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got a doubleheader tomorrow night. So we're constantly rolling. It's always good to talk to you, Timmy. We do all the football games together, and it's fun to be on the radio.
Yeah, we don't get to see it.
A little different perspective here today. And Tim did give me 2 meal tickets after I was done eating, so I appreciate that too.
I don't know if I'm authorized for that, but that's fine. You certainly earned it. All right.
Appreciate you.
Well, absolutely, and we appreciate you. Coach John Cahill joining us here from Frickers for the Coaches Show. That's going to wrap up our first program, and do appreciate it. A reminder, New Regal at Woodmore Boys tomorrow night with John Kearns on the call, I should say John Kearns and Nick Roth on the call. They will have that game coming up 7 o'clock roughly with the tip-off, and then 7 o'clock tip on the Wolf 92.1 on Thursday, Bellevue at Clyde Girls. We did want to mention the boys game. I was looking at the schedule, was pushed back to February 22nd. So that was supposed to be on Friday night. It's been pushed back to February 22nd at the tail end of the regular season. Thank you to Aiden Klein, our producer engineer tonight. And if you weren't able to make it tonight, don't worry. We'll be here throughout the season. We got a couple more shows before the end of the year. And then, of course, when the calendar turns on January 8th, because we're taking Christmas and New Year's off. I mean, we will certainly be able, of course, to kick this in full gear for next year during the course of this winter sports schedule. I'm Tim Boulware. Thanks for joining us. Thank you to Frickers, and have a great night. And we'll talk to you again at one of your arenas for hopefully be able to say hi as well at the various games that we are at throughout the season. Until then, I'm Tim Boulware. Have a great night.